Santham Academy. Welcome to Digital Kaksha. To get updates on new videos, click the subscribe button and the bell icon.
Hello everyone, a very good morning to all of you. We have started the new chapter in the last video, and the chapter is chapter 5, Principles of Inheritance and Variation. So there we have discussed the terminologies, that is what is genetics, what are variations, what is heredity, what is inheritance. Other than that, the other terms which we have studied in last class, that is the gene, alleles, genotype, phenotype, diploid, haploid, all these terms we have discussed in the last video. So here in this video we will continue with that terminologies, as I have already told you that these terminologies will be very helpful when we actually start with the contents of the chapter. So here let us start. Homozygous condition. Homozygous condition, homo means similar. When an individual is getting both the alleles same, or if it is getting similar alleles from the parents, then that condition is called as homozygous condition. We will take an example. The gene of height. The gene of height, it has got two alleles, that is tall and dwarf. So if an individual is getting the allele of tallness from one parent and the allele of tallness from the other parent also. So here, as the two alleles the individual is getting from both the parents is same, this condition is called as the homozygous condition. One more example we can take, like if the individual is getting the allele for dwarfness from both the parents. So it will be represented as small t, that is the allele for dwarfness from one parent, and another small t, that is also the allele of dwarfness. So as both the parents are giving the same alleles to the individual, so that condition is called as the homozygous condition. It is the condition in which same alleles are given by the parents to the offspring. So that condition is called as homozygous condition. Now moving to the next term, that is heterozygous condition. Heterozygous condition simply means that hetero means different. When dissimilar alleles are given by the parents, that condition is called as the heterozygous condition. For example, we will again take the height, gene of height. It has got two options, that is tall and dwarf. So from one parent, if the offspring is getting the allele for tallness, and from the another parent the offspring is getting the allele for dwarfness. So here you can see that the two alleles, they are different. So this condition is called as the heterozygous condition. Okay. So here one more thing can occur. From one parent the individual can get the allele of dwarfness, and from another parent it can get the allele for tallness. So these conditions in which both the alleles, they are different, that means the offspring is getting two different alleles from the two parents, that condition is called as heterozygous condition. So homozygous, same alleles from both parents, heterozygous, dissimilar alleles from the two parents. So moving to the next term, that is dominant allele. Now here, in case of homozygous condition, as both the alleles are same As both the alleles are same, they will be giving the same character to the offspring. For example, as here both the alleles are of tallness, naturally the offspring will be tall. So, in case of homozygous condition, there is no concept of dominant and recessive. But in case of heterozygous condition, as two different alleles are there, two different alleles the offspring is getting from the parent. So, here the question arises, which trait will express itself, whether the tallness will express itself or the dwarfness will express itself. So, here we can define the dominant and the recessive allele. So, in case of heterozygous condition, the allele which is able to express itself phenotypically or physically, okay? The allele which is able to express itself phenotypically means physical appearance, external features, okay? Externally it can express itself, that allele is called as the dominant allele. So, here in case of height, tallness is the dominant allele. So, the allele which is able to express itself phenotypically, that allele is called as the dominant allele. Now, coming to the second, that is recessive allele. Recessive allele means the allele which is not able to express itself in the offspring, but it is present genotypically, means like here you can see capital T and small t. The small t or the dwarfness allele is not able to express itself, but it is present genotypically. Such allele is called as the recessive allele. The recessive alleles can express itself only in homozygous condition, okay? Dominant alleles can express themselves in homozygous as well as heterozygous condition, while the recessive allele can express itself only in the homozygous condition. So, this was about the dominant allele and the recessive allele. One more thing I would like to tell you, that when representing an allele, we have to take the first alphabet of the dominant allele. For example, for the height of the plant, two alleles are there, the tallness and the dwarfness. So, we are taking the first alphabet, that is capital T, from the dominant allele, that is tallness, and for the recessive allele, the same alphabet is taken in small letters. We have to use the first alphabet of the dominant allele and the same alphabet in small letters to represent the recessive allele. So, this was about the dominant and recessive alleles and representation of the dominant and recessive alleles. Now, moving to the next term, that is pure lines. The offsprings which we get from continuous self-pollination, means generation after generation, when we go for self-pollination, and the offsprings which we get, that offsprings are completely pure for that particular character. So, such offsprings are called as the pure lines. Now, let us move to the crosses. In genetics, crosses are very much important. So, there are different types of crosses. Here in class 12th, we have to deal with the monohybrid cross and the dihybrid cross. So, let us see what this monohybrid cross is. The monohybrid, mono means single, okay. So, when we are considering only single character and crossing two individuals, then that cross is called as monohybrid cross. As I have told, one character we are considering. So, one character will be coded by one gene. So, the one character coded by the one gene will have two alleles. So, the cross which is being done by taking one gene and two alleles into consideration is called as the monohybrid cross. One example we will take, that is the height of the plant. So we have got gene for the height of the plant and it has got two alleles. So the two alleles are tallness and dwarfness. So here like this you can see homozygous condition we have taken capital T and capital T, means this parent have got both the same alleles from their parents, and here you can see the homozygous condition small t which represent dwarfness. So this type of cross in which only one character is taken into account. What is that one character? That is the height of the plant, and two alleles are taken into consideration. What are the two alleles? Tallness and dwarfness. So when we take one character and two alleles into account and cross two individuals, such cross is called as the monohybrid cross. After the monohybrid cross, next is dihybrid cross. Di means two. That means when we are considering two characters at a time, two characters means two genes and two genes means four alleles. So when we are considering two characters, that is two genes and four alleles, and crossing the two individual, such cross is called as the dihybrid cross. Whenever we take two characters in consideration and cross two individuals, that cross is called as the dihybrid cross. Now let us take an example. So here we have taken two characters from the plant. Number one is the shape of the seed and number two is the color of the seed. So here what are the two shapes? Round and wrinkled. And what are the two colors? Yellow and green. So here you can see the representation as the round and yellow, they are the dominant traits. We have taken the first alphabet of them to represent the alleles, that is you can see RR and YY, and we have crossed that with the recessive character, that is smaller and small y. So in this cross we have taken two characters, that is shape and color of the seed, and it has got four alleles, that is round and yellow, wrinkled and green. When we cross two individuals for these two characters, such type of cross is called as the dihybrid cross. Now the third one, polyhybrid cross. As the name indicates, when we are considering more than two characters, then such cross is called as the polyhybrid cross. Means two individuals we are crossing and taking more than two characters into account. Such cross is called as the polyhybrid cross. Moving to the next terms, that is F1 and F2 generation. F stands for filial. So the first filial and the second filial generation. So what is this first filial and second filial generation? The result of the first cross, that means when the two individuals we have taken and the first hybrid we get after crossing the two individuals, that first generation is called as the F1 generation or the first filial generation. So what is first filial generation? When we take two individuals and then we cross them, and the first generation of hybrids we get, that generation is called as the first filial generation or the F1 generation. Now what is this F2 generation? When we are crossing the F1 hybrids. When we are crossing the F1 hybrids and the next generation we will get as a result of this crossing, that generation is called as the F2 generation. So what is F2 generation? The resultant offsprings, or we can say the resultant generation after crossing the F1 individuals or F1 hybrids is called as the second filial generation or the F2 generation. Now we will see some more types of crosses, that is number 1, the back cross. As the name indicates, back cross, that means we are crossing the F1 generation or the F1 hybrid with either of the two parents. So here I have taken example like this. We are crossing the F1 hybrid with the homozygous tall parent and we are crossing the F1 hybrid with the homozygous dwarf parent. So this cross is called as back cross. Back means to the parents. So when the F1 hybrids are crossed with either of the parents, such cross is called as the back cross. Now one type of back cross is the test cross. So now what is this test cross? Here we are testing something. So what we are testing? Like we have seen a tall plant. So that tall plant may be homozygous tall or it may be heterozygous tall. So to find out whether the tall plant is homozygous tall or heterozygous tall, we will perform the test cross. Then this test cross is a type of back cross in which we are crossing the individual which is representing the dominant type to find out it is homozygous dominant or heterozygous dominant by crossing it to the recessive parent. If we take the example of the height of the plant, here for example two options are there, capital T and capital T small t. In both these conditions, the plant will appear tall. In both these conditions, the plant will appear tall phenotypically, but the genotype can be either capital T or it can be capital T small t. So to find out the genotype of that particular plant, we have to cross that plant with the recessive parent. So here the recessive parent is small t. So after crossing that, whatever results we get, if we are getting all the tall plants, then that particular individual was homozygous tall. And if we are getting 50% of individuals as tall and 50% of individuals as dwarf, then that unknown individual, it is heterozygous tall. So with the help of this test cross, we can find out the genotype of an unknown plant, whether it is homozygous or it is heterozygous. So the next cross is reciprocal cross. Reciprocal means reversing the sexes. So here we will be performing two crosses by reversing the sexes. Let us see how we do that. So here in the first cross you can see that we have taken a plant A and it is considered as female, and we have taken another plant B which is considered as the male plant. So how we will take the male and female plant? In case of male plant, we will be taking the pollen grains from that plant and dusting on the stigma of the female plant. So in this way, the pollen grains we are taking, that is considered as the male plant, and on whichever plant stigma it is being dusted, that plant is considered as the female plant. So this one cross we will perform and we will get the resultant offsprings. Now after that we will reverse the sexes, like you can see in the second case we have taken the female plant, that is the B plant, and we have taken A as the male plant. So here what we are doing, just reversing the sexes, that means we are taking the pollen grains from the A plant and dusting it on the stigma of the B plant. So the crosses are same, but we have reversed the sexes to know that under which cross we can get a better offsprings. Okay, sometimes it happens that pollen grain of one type of plant have got more potential as compared to the pollen grain of another plant. So in this way, by doing this reciprocal cross, we are able to find out which cross will give a better quality of hybrids. So this was about the reciprocal cross. So here we come to the end of the terminologies of genetics. From the next class, we will start the actual content of the chapter, that is principles of inheritance and variation. There we will be continuously using these terms. So it will be very helpful for you to understand all the concepts. So the different terminologies we have discussed here, they are the genetics, heredity, variations, genes, alleles, after that genotype, phenotype, homozygous condition, heterozygous condition, dominant allele, recessive allele, then the different types of crosses, monohybrid cross, dihybrid cross, polyhybrid cross, then back cross, test cross and reciprocal cross. I hope you will go through all these terms and we will meet in the next class. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like, share and subscribe for more.